In Venezuela, the Attorney General of the Republic, Tarek William Saab, presented before the diplomatic corps accredited in the country all the evidence gathered by the public ministry regarding the attempted coup d'etat organized by the Venezuelan ultra-right. In the United States, the immigration issue arrives late and without a compass on the third day of the Democratic National Convention, with a tendency to tighten immigration policies. And in Palestine, Israeli forces have sent an evacuation notice in the central area of Deir al-Balah, forcing 1 million Gazans to leave their homes due to new violations of Israel's border demarcation in the country. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos. I'm from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The Attorney General of Venezuela, Tarek William Saab, together with the Foreign Affairs Minister, Ivan Gil, presented before the diplomatic corps accredited in the country evidence of the violent conspiracy and attempted coup d'etat perpetrated by the fascist ultra-right wing that lost the elections on July 28th. Let's see.
In a report, complemented with videos showing those responsible for the violent acts promoted by the extreme right, led by economic and political sectors of the United States through Maria Corina Machado and Edmundo Gonzalez. The head of the Venezuelan Public Ministry trusts that the governments will take note of the destabilization attempts against the country.
Who can say that it is a peaceful demonstration to attack the CNA, education and hospital units, attacks on the police headquarters, public transportation units, attacks on innocent people? So I believe that the report before the diplomatic corps has caused a great impact, and I have asked them, because it is a duty and an obligation, that they take note of what we have said and replicate it to the governments. There has to be a correspondence.
The Venezuelan Minister of People's Power for Foreign Affairs, as host of the event, said that in the context of international relations there is a new challenge, because there are governments that reject the institutionality and will of the Venezuelan people, guided by the messages they collect from social networks.
Nowadays, virtual reality is taking over, the reality of social networks, and even surpass the foreign ministers themselves. But this effort made by the Venezuelan Foreign Ministry and the Venezuelan Attorney General's office is precisely to combat this lie that unfortunately in some foreign ministries of the world is making the information.
The Attorney General of the Republic, Tarek William Saab, in this stage that is the Sucre Hall of the Yellow House, headquarters of the Chancellery, presented before the diplomatic corps of Venezuela the elements that allow to demonstrate the amount of violence that has been presented and also the situation that has meant that actions of the ultra-right prevented a normal process after the diplomatic process of July 28.
And we stay in Venezuela as the President Nicolás Maduro led the inauguration of the Carabobo Te Quiero Integral Rehabilitation Center for children with disabilities to promote the health of the Venezuelan people. Upon his arrival at the center's headquarters in the state of Carabobo, the president was received amidst joys and dances with the citizens who highlighted his support for the popular victory he obtained in the presidential elections of July 28th. In this sense, the National Executive affirmed that the spaces of the Rehabilitation Center will have as an objective to support all those children with disabilities whom he considers the future of the country. In this sense, President Nicolás Maduro referred to the attacks of the right wing that threatened the peace and the future of these children and all the other inhabitants of Venezuela in the past days.
Si el fascismo hubiera asaltado el poder político en Venezuela.
What would have happened if fascism had assaulted the political power in Venezuela? Is the fascist right wing ready to rule Venezuela? Can we let the fascists take the political power in Venezuela? They, with their hate and their revenge, came to kill people of Venezuela. Does anyone have any doubt of that? They came for you. How many people did they threaten of those who are watching me now? Those who are here, those who are there, how many people were threatened on WhatsApp? How many people were threatened in their homes? How many people were called from abroad to tell them things? We are very clear, but the good thing about this whole film is that it has a happy ending. And we have won again, because peace and stability have won and we are dedicated to work.
La estabilidad, la tranquilidad.
We now move on to other topics. In Colombia, a comprehensive epidemiological evaluation plan against the monkeypox was carried out. In a meeting with the executive, the health authorities presented a detailed report on the current status of monkeypox in the country, as well as confirmed cases and affected regions. In this regard, the head of state, Gustavo Petro, emphasized the importance of maintaining constant monitoring of the situation and adjusting response strategies according to the evolution of monkeypox in the country. He also reiterated the national government's commitment to guaranteeing the health and well-being of all Colombians and to act as quickly as possible in the face of any threat to public health. And the Democratic National Convention in the United States finally discussed the issue of immigration. It waited until the third day to do so, and to many experts, the compass is still lost. Among those present were the senators who helped negotiate the controversial immigration pact with the Republicans, who proposed severe restrictions on the asylum system and offered no option for the legalization of 11 million undocumented migrants. The pressure to put on the Democrats by the November 5th election campaign against Donald Trump has led the party platform approved last Monday to start changing its immigration policy towards a harsher reform. Now let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The United States Central Command confirmed the arrival of the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln in the Middle East. Although Secretary of State Antony Blinken made several days promoting peace, the ship arrived equipped with F-35 and F-A-8 fighters. Additionally, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin ordered the deployment of USS Georgia nuclear submarine after a conversation with his Zionist counterpart Yoav Gallant. The Pentagon said that Iran's expected response to the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran has accelerated several decisions. Iran has responded to Washington's move by warning them that they support the world's most dangerous terrorist entity, referring to Israel. And in Palestine, Israeli forces have sent an evacuation notice in the central area of Deir al-Balah, forcing 1 million Gazans to leave their homes due to the new violations of Israel's border demarcations in the country. The warning was addressed to residents and displaced people located in blocks of 129 and 130 of the Al-Mahata and Deir al-Balah. The warning also warned that the Israeli Defense Forces will act vigorously against terrorist organizations in the region, urging immediate evacuation for their safety and because the area is considered a dangerous combat zone. In this context, the safe zones continue to shrink and Gazans don't know where to go. And also, the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Tourism of Colombia officially prohibited the sale of coal from Israel in support of the Palestinian people. Valeria Cardona has the information.
Colombia, headed by President Gustavo Petro, has been a reference of support to the Palestinian people during his government. To the rupture of diplomatic relations between Colombia and Israel, the country's request to the UN to recognize Palestine as a full member, and the announcement of humanitarian support to Palestinian children and their families, we must add Colombia's ban on the sale of coal to Israel.
When you make a decision of this kind to support a people that is being exterminated, that is being subjected to genocide, the first consideration is an ethical, political consideration. It cannot be an economic consideration. The businessmen here from the commercial and liberal sectors have shouted to the skies that they are going to suspend, they are going to interrupt the income coming from coal because of this decision.
In the face of the rejection of some sectors of the opposition, for many specialists this decision is an opportunity for the country. This is the opinion of Alexander Montero, political advisor of the Palestinian embassy in Colombia.
The possibilities of finding a market for coal are quite high. Additionally, exports to Israel represent only 5% of coal exports, according to figures from the Colombian Coal and Mining Union. The main markets are the United States and even Turkey. So the question here is not so much whether it is a right decision or not, because that will be defined by Colombian society and the Colombian government. The basic question here is whether it obeys a usual international practice, and the answer is yes. And the question behind it is whether Colombia will have the opportunity to diversify markets and even strengthen the markets where it is already a protagonist, and the answer is also yes.
Montero, who also calls for depoliticizing the situation in Palestine out of respect for its history and the suffering of the victims of this people, explains that this measure is a tool of pressure in the international system that has not been invented by Colombia and that is quite old, and has been applied in other cases internationally.
Valeria Cardona, teleSUR, Bogotá, Colombia.
In China, the Foreign Affairs Minister called the United States the world's greatest strategic nuclear threat creator following the approval of a classified nuclear strategy. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning stressed that the U.S. has continuously promoted the theory of the so-called Chinese nuclear threat, which is in reality nothing more than a pretext to evade its own nuclear disarmament obligations. Mao Ning further stressed that the size of China's nuclear arsenal is very different from that of the U.S. Ning further assured that China adheres to the no first use policy, to the nuclear self-defense strategy, and keeps its nuclear capabilities at the minimum level necessary to ensure national security. We go now to sports, as the Asian Olympic Council has decided to cancel the Asian Indoor and Martial Arts Games scheduled to be held in Thailand this November due to the host country's delay in submitting its budget. The OCA, the Asian Olympic Committee, informed that the Thai authorities that it had decided to cancel the Games in order to avoid the domino effect that the lack of budget would have on the operations and implementation of the event. The Director General of the Asian Council, Hussein Al-Musallam, sent a letter to the President of the Thai National Olympic Committee, Prawit Wongsuwon, and the Governor of the Thai Sports Authority, Gongsak Yodmani, to officially announce the cancellation of the Games. In other news, the venues and groups for the 2026 World Baseball Classic were revealed. Let's see.
La MLB dio a conocer este miércoles.
The Major League Baseball announced this Wednesday how the 4 groups will be formed, highlighting that those who will occupy the 5th place in each of them have yet to qualify. Group A has Puerto Rico, which will be the host, with home games in San Juan, while the other countries are Cuba, Canada, and Panama. Group B has Mexico, England, Italy, and the United States and will be hosted by Houston, Texas. Group C will play its matches in Tokyo, home of defending champion Japan, with Australia, South Korea, and the Czech Republic as visitors. Finally, Group D has as members Venezuela, the Dominican Republic, the Netherlands, and Israel, with the city of Miami as host city. The World Cup will kick off on March 6, 2026.
La cual verá sus primeras actividades el 6 de marzo de 2026.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you will be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Russia, fighting continues in the border area of the Kursk region to drive out the Kiev regime forces and repel drone attacks on the civilian population. The Russian authorities have denounced that this Ukrainian offensive was logistically supported by NATO countries. Our correspondent Oleg Yasinski brings us the story.
Russia denounces the Ukrainian drone attacks against the civilian population in the border region of Kursk, from where more than 120,000 people have already been evacuated and 60,000 more are expected to leave the area.
Why does Ukraine purposefully use drones to attack the civilian population? The goal is clear, as this is the new strategy of the Ukrainian regime. Drones attack and kill the population in order to spread terror in civil society. They intend to generate protests, mass discontent, and try to create division within the Russian society.
Following the invasion of the Kiev regime's regular forces into the Kursk region on August 6, the Russian army strengthens the line of defense and mobilizes new military units to stop the enemy invasion. More and more volunteers from the region sign up for the Russian armed forces.
The requested quantity of quadcopters, anti-drone rifles and drone detectors was shipped. Electronic warfare equipment, mobile stations, motorcycles and thermal insulators.
Motos y aislantes térmicos.
According to experts' data, the invasion initially involved about 12,000 Ukrainian military and foreign mercenaries. The Russian Defense Ministry claims that more than 4,000 of them have already been eliminated, and about 100 armored vehicles and 50 tanks of the invading forces have been destroyed.
The armed forces of the Russian Federation delivered up to 17 strikes with groups of drones with high-precision weapons to the factories of the Ukrainian military industry, the infrastructure of airfields, places of assembly, and storage of military drones.
On the other hand, Russia alerts the international community to the Kiev regime's plan to attack the Kursk nuclear power plant, which represents a serious threat not only to the local Russian population but to the entire European continent.
Oleg Yasinski, teleSUR, Moscow. And we now move on to other topics. In China, a communication program was launched to promote Chinese tea culture around the world. The aim of this initiative is to express and strengthen the presence of the infusion on the global scene, as well as to develop high-quality products based on this tradition. Approximately 300 representatives of government agencies, universities, cultural associations, and companies participated in the various presentation topics related to Chinese tea. The participants also exchanged views on the heritage of the cultural identity of this beverage, in addition to proposing the creation of a collaborative platform for its research and promotion beyond China's borders. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and also on TikTok. For TeleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.